All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Honey Podcast. We are back again. This is Dani.
And this is Jodie. And this week we have a special guest with Ibby. And this week,
And this week we're talking about K-pop. So this is going to be a fun one for me, especially because I am very unfamiliar with the genre. And that's why we invited Ibby on here to give us the down low about K-pop. And I think Jodie's a little bit more familiar than I am, but
just a teeny bit.
Just a teeny bit. But she's going to give us all the business, and we're going to learn a lot about K-pop today. So, my first question for you is, what are some of the misconceptions of K-pop that you hear a lot that are just like totally untrue?
Ooh. So a lot of them, a lot of people I've noticed will often associate K-pop with one group, which is definitely not the case.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people forget that K-pop can range anywhere from like super high energy EDM music to soft ballads to an actual rock band to a hip hop group. Like it can be anything in between. It's a bunch of genres all thrown into one. And I feel like a lot of people forget that. So I think that might be the most common misconception is people hear one or two songs and be like, oh, I don't really like K-pop without realizing that it's so much more than just
so broad.
Those two songs.
Honestly, that is something that I didn't even know because I feel like when I think about it, I think like totally more poppy, like completely just like pop. But that is true because even with like Fresh Music Friday and stuff like that, I've covered a couple things. And there's been some pretty cool ballads in there too. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's like a whole little entire world of music all in one genre.
Yeah. It is really cool. I'm really excited to learn more about it because we've been talking about doing this for a long time and it's time I learned.
I'm so excited.
Like a lot of people have told me that a really good stepping stone for me would be the Rose because they're actually a band. Is that right? So that would, because I love bands, that would be quite a good stepping stone for me.
I put them on like the playlist that I made like for you guys. The Rose are already on there. Because they are such a good stepping stone.
Oh, wicked.
So my next question for you would be, what would be an artist that you would say besides the Rose that would be a good beginner like K-pop group for us to get, or other listeners that aren't familiar with the genre? What would be one that you would recommend listening to?
That's such a good question. Like my first thought was like Stray Kids. And I say that because Stray Kids has this like discography where like every single comeback they have is a different genre of music. It's like they change their style every time. The members are really good for getting into like the concept of like the I guess understanding the dynamic of K-pop groups and their members. They've got 2 fluent English speaking members, so it's a really good like segue into, getting used to having a group where you're a fan of somebody who doesn't speak your language.
Right.
And that was my first initial thought. My next thought would be like any like K band. So like that would be like Day 6, The Rose, FT Island, CN Blue, groups like that.
I think it's awesome that you're naming all these bands because like I feel like I could only name like one. So it's like so cool like that there's so many out there and like it's just a whole new world.
There's so many, it's insane.
I mean, I feel like I know a lot of the names through being at the Honey Pop. Like I had heard of Stray Kids and BTS before, but like since having a small introduction from you, like I've listened to Big Bang, EXO, what was it, Super M, and I've really enjoyed Super M, and they're a super group. That's right, isn't it? Like of other bands all together, which I think is incredible. Could you imagine like a Western band doing that? Like they could never, but like having like, all of these members taken from that band into a super group is just insane. I think that's
Can we elaborate on that more? What's a super group? I don't even know what that is.
Super is like this company SM took their biggest boy groups. So they took 2 members from NCT, technically 4 members from NCT, but 2 members from NCT, 2 members from Wavy, 2 members from EXO, and 1 member from Shiny. And that makes up their group. So they took literally some of the biggest names in the industry, put them all in one K-pop group.
Oh, wow.
So they're a super group. They're called like the Avengers of K-pop, like because they're
That's
just
amazing.
it's so cool.
That's crazy.
Another really good stepping stone group. They're a lot of their songs are in English, which makes it easier to like ease into the whole like other language thing. Yeah, they're really cool.
They are really cool, and their songs are insanely catchy as well. From the ones I've heard.
I mean, they're the best of the best. That makes sense. That I can't imagine. That is awesome. Like you said, Jodie, I wonder what it would be like if like we had that in Western like music. That would be insane.
Imagine fan wars.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh my god. You're right.
Mariana.
So that kind of prompts another question. I would say how, and this might be this. I don't know if this is a good question or not, but how is stan culture with K-pop groups? Is it similar to what we see on the other end, or?
Stan culture, it's really interesting, and it's something that you really have to get used to. I liked K-pop long before I joined like the stan culture of K-pop. So I didn't realize the power that fans have in K-pop, because it's a heck of a lot more than they have in Western culture. Fans can protest for a couple of days and get a member kicked out of a group if they want. Like, it's intense.
That's crazy.
It's intense. Sometimes it's used for good. It depends on said group of fans. Like some fans will come together and like, I think there was something where like a fandom of one band bought like an entire zoo for like in honor of their K-pop group. I think it was 17's fans, or like they made enough donations that it like was the equivalent of like an entire zoo's worth of animals like for their group. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Others that use it negatively, like to get members kicked out of groups or to bully other fandoms. It just depends. But like as a general rule, they're just very strong-willed and very powerful.
Yeah.
And there's also a huge difference, which is crazy, between like the international fans and the Korean fans. Like
Really?
there's a huge difference and gap even there. I think it might be a cultural thing in that sense, but like it's just like the difference that there is. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar in the sense that I would say like it can be good or bad, but like they definitely seem like they have a lot more power. And that's cool. I mean, good for them. They be winning awards and stuff like that. Like, that's awesome. I mean, and I feel like for myself, like in the recent years, especially, and I don't know if it's because I'm paying attention more or what, but I've seen like a lot more, I feel like K-pop artists like winning awards and stuff. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Trying to think, the earliest award that I can think of off the top of my head, I think was like this is really odd, but it was either 13 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Big Bang not Big Bang, Hello, it was Super Junior getting a Teen Choice Award, I think. And that's like the earliest thing I can think of, but it didn't really start picking up till like 2017, 18, I think, when like BTS really started like getting a lot of traction here. Like,
yeah, I feel like they're definitely one of the names that I hear more often, or I guess again that I just actually know that they are in that genre. So like I pay attention when I hear their name more. So my last question for you is, what is an artist, a K-pop artist, band or otherwise, that is not super big yet, but you think has the potential to be really big?
I'm gonna say m.o.n.t, and I think that anybody that knows me knew this was coming. m.o.n.t are m.o.n.t are really, really talented and seriously like disgustingly underrated.
Yeah.
They've had, I think, 3 comebacks. But that might be wrong. It might be more than that. They just put out a new album, which I put on the playlist that I made.
I was gonna say, I hope it's on there.
Of course it is. Of course, of course it is. One thing that's super like treasured in K-pop groups is self-production. And that's something that m.o.n.t are really, really good at. They produce and write their own music. They do their they even like do their own makeup and that kind of thing. They
Wow.
and they're like they help like plan their events. They're really, really good at engaging with their fans. Um, they're just a really cool group to be a fan of. Super down to earth, super cool, and they treat their fans like their friends. Like it's just really cool. They're a
I
great.
love a group like that.
Me too, and it's sometimes harder to find because there are more restrictions on what certain K-pop groups can and can't do. So it's harder to find groups that are able to treat their fans like that and are able to have those like bonds and relationships with their fans. So it's I think m.o.n.t might be like one that definitely deserves more than what they're given, what they've got.
Well, we're gonna hype them up, I'm sure. I can't wait to listen to
can't
them now.
I'm so excited for you guys too. Everybody listen to m.o.n.t.
I'm probably going to listen to it after this as well, if I'm honest. And
Heck yeah.
but I've got I got a couple of questions of like things that, as someone who's only heard a little bit about K-pop, like what they are. I mean, and I might sound really dumb when I'm saying this, but obviously when a Western artist just has a new album come out, it's a new release. But with K-pop, they call that a comeback, and we've used that a couple of times. So like, so. And it seems like it's like a massive rollout of promotion and stuff in comparison to what a Western artists generally do. And is the comeback, is that the album? Is that essentially what it is, or does it mean something else?
I think I'm not sure like technically like what exactly. I know it's like I think the comeback would technically be the album because a group could put out a single and I don't think it technically qualifies as a comeback. But what you were saying about promotions, you're right, it's so insanely different. Like a group could put out a song or an album and then go promote for about 7 weeks where they'll perform at multiple music shows a week. They'll perform on different like TV shows and that kind of thing, just getting their name out, putting the song out for feelers. And every music show has an award at the end of it. So like they win every week, like Taemin from Shiny, he's promoting as a solo artist right now. Won on a solo music show last night, I think, or maybe it was the night before last.
I think that like totally makes sense though. I mean, and the aspect of like their fans being so much more involved, like no wonder they're doing all this kind of promotion. Like that's insane.
Yeah, it's intense. Like there are times where members will even be like, wow, I like wish I had an off day. I had like a member of Super Junior send a bubble message, which is, I can explain, it's like a subscription service from their company where they can send text messages out to their fans, and you can like respond back. It's so cute. But
so cute.
He sent one yesterday and he was like, I wish I had an off day, I'm so busy. And I felt really bad, and I feel like that's one of the downfalls of like K-pop is that they're so busy, there's so much happening that they don't really get breaks that often.
Yeah, it does seem so much more intense. Like, don't get me wrong, I know Western artists work hard, but it does seem like that, like they have a lot more, where even though K-pop, from what I've seen, has a lot more like structure, their work is constant when they're like constant, like on the grind. It's crazy. And another thing, like I wanted, like, I don't know if this is just for one or two bands or idols, but there's a thing about like I don't even know if I know the right words, I sound really dumb, but like glow sticks and things at shows and stuff. What they are.
Oh, she knows. She's like, yep.
They look
I have like 8 of them. I don't know.
They look so sick, that's all. And I've seen like clips and stuff and I'm like, wow, that like seems like kind of unique to K-pop. I could be wrong, but I thought
it is, I believe.
Yeah. And like there are a couple of things that I've seen that K-pop does that I wish other music did as well, is with their box sets and the fact that they do photo cards and everything seems so much more thoughtful and considerate of what the fan would want when they get that album. I kind of really love that, and I love the appeal of that. So, like, with that in mind, what would you say, collection wise, which artist do you have the most of? Would you say it's m.o.n.t or
It's SHINee. I literally have, I think I have everything of SHINee's except maybe 2 Japanese release albums. Like I love SHINee.
Yeah, there's a lot more of like a buzz of like being a collector within K-pop as well. Is that right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love the appeal of that because I love collecting things. I know, like, I probably don't have any room to even get into K-pop the size of my house, but like, yeah, it's just
after your Calm collection. I don't know.
Oh yeah, in our last episode, I may have exposed that I have over 20 Calm, more than 20 Calm CDs and cassettes in this house somewhere. Yeah,
I support you.
I mean, I support you too, but I don't know if you have any more room.
The look on Dani and Steven's face when they were like, "Why?"
We were like, "What?"
But they brought out so many different bundles that I wanted that one bit in that bundle that wasn't in the other bundle. So that's kind of what happened.
To be fair, that's really common in K-pop too, to buy a bunch of the same album in the hopes of getting like different photo cards, different like sometimes it'll have, I had one album come with a bookmark. Sometimes they'll come, like, what else do they come with? NCTs I know come with these little like circle cards that are like this big and have their face on them. There's all kinds of stuff that can come in albums, and people will buy like tons and tons and tons just trying to get their favorite members.
Yeah, I would do that. I would totally do that. Yeah. So how is the shipping? Is it out of this world for you?
I wouldn't say it's quite as bad as, at least not with the people that I tend to surround myself with. That doesn't mean anything though. I wouldn't say it's quite as bad as it was maybe in the One Direction days. But it's still pretty bad. It's you've got like especially now that deep fakes are a thing.
Yeah.
Like it's gotten kind of bad. I was scrolling down my timeline and saw 2 K-pop idols totally not doing what they should have been doing. And I never unfollowed someone so fast in my life. I was like,
I love it.
I can't. It's so it's like, it's not like there's not as many of them, but when they are like a shipper, I think it generally tends to be to the max.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like they'd be cute if they like kissed or something. It's like oh, what if they got married and had 7 kids together? Like,
so just like super intense.
Incredibly.
That is interesting. I figured I had to ask because I know it's something we see a lot in the other stand-ups.
Oh, it's there.
Sorry, when you were talking about the deep fakes, I had war flashbacks to when they had Austin doing the WAP video. And like, yeah, that's why I kind of I was listening to you and I was just like, ugh. But yeah, what's your favorite act that you've seen live? Would you say that's SHINee as well, or?
I haven't gotten to see SHINee live. I have seen Taemin when he performed with Super M, but I have not seen SHINee, which is, one day we'll get there. One day, fingers crossed. Exactly. I'd probably say I've seen m.o.n.t live, but I haven't seen them in concert live. I've seen them do like an acoustic set. So I don't know if that counts. If that counts, I'd probably say m.o.n.t. If not, I'd probably say either Super M or Monsta X. Monsta X are insane live. They're so good.
That's I've heard a lot as well, and I've checked out a couple of tunes, but I need to check out more.
They're on the playlist.
Yeah. I was gonna think the same thing. I'm definitely familiar with that name too.
Yeah, they're insanely good, so talented, and despite being like as big as they are amongst K-pop fans, I would borderline say that they're underrated. Like, maybe not like publicity wise, but fan wise. I don't see them in today, like, which is interesting to me.
Yeah, especially when they're like as talented as that. That's crazy.
It's insane.
What about this one I just thought of. What's your favorite K-pop update account on Twitter? Could you name one?
I don't really follow any. I do tend to check out, there's an account, and they're not, I wouldn't necessarily call them like an updating. Well, I guess I kind of would. They mostly take Naver, which is almost like a Korean Google, is what I would compare it to. They'll take Naver articles and translate them and then post the results. So their translate accounts, I'd probably say their balloon_wanted is one of my favorites. And then of course I do always love a good hourly Jinky Picks account. That is
I respect that. I do.
doesn't count, but
love it. I in fact I think you might have to send me that one so I can follow it.
I absolutely will.
Any more questions, Jodie?
I was just trying to think of any, and like the only real one I have is like what's the biggest like piece of advice you could like really give someone trying to get into K-pop? Like where would you kind of like recommend that starting point possibly being? I know you said it with like English speaking bands and that, but is there like a particular favorite of yours with bias that you could say like, I feel like you should check out this one and this is why?
I would say groups with a lot of content are a really good place to start. Groups that push out content constantly. So like off the top of my head, I'm thinking right now at least Shiny, AT, Stray Kids, GOT7's putting out a lot of content, which is neat. Those groups are like heavy, like NCT is putting out a lot of content right now too, but NCT is a really hard group to stand, especially right now because there's 23 members.
I heard that they're massive.
They're a huge group, so they're kind of a big thing to tackle. But it's worth it once you get there. But Shiny's doing stuff like every day. Stray Kids is always putting stuff out. ATEEZ that's like a huge part of it. If you can get something that you can engage with constantly, it's way easier to like develop. I feel like an attachment sounds weird to say, but like develop an attachment to them and like get into them.
It's cool. Because definitely for sure, like when even like with like Western bands, it's so much easier to appreciate and like learn about them when they're constantly putting something out, and it's when they're on hiatus that not so much. But yeah, for sure, I'm definitely going to check these out, and I love that you've done a playlist for us and anyone who's listening that's curious to check out. So if we're on YouTube, like they'll be able to check that down in the description, and I'll be adding it on the link on the Spotify as well. And yeah, I'm really excited to listen to that. Is there any particular faves that you've got on that playlist, or like personal faves?
Oh, Taemin's on it. Big Bang is on it. I've got a Shiny song there. I've got a m.o.n.t song there. I threw in a guilty pleasure BoA song. She is like the OG like K-pop it girl. Like I think she debuted in like 2000. Like she is like old school K-pop, and she is like a the standard, I guess. Like, and that sounds kind of like, I guess, like bold to say, but when she's been around that long, I like you kind of can. So I guilty pleasure threw in her song Only One. That's one of my favorites, like K-pop songs ever. I've got a lot of older groups on there. I've got a Super Junior song, a TVXQ song, both of which debuted in like the early 2000s. And I've got newer groups too. I've got like Twice, which they're not new. They're like mid-range. I've got AT, Stray Kids, who debuted like 2 years ago. So I tried to throw in like a variety, and most of these are groups that I listen to on the regular, because they're just I don't know why I said because they're just good. I just like listening
because I said so.
because they just are.
Yeah, because what I think would be super cool is like if we went away and we listened to this playlist a bit, and then like maybe in a month's time after like the holidays are out of the way, we like revisited it and we could like discuss with you who we like enjoyed listening to, and whether
I
we
love that.
developed like a little bit of an obsession with any, because I have a feeling Dani will. For
Oh,
sure.
I obsess over everything. So yes, I will.
And I'm already really digging Super M and EXO from the
Heck yeah.
little bit that I've heard. So like I'd feel really intrigued to like do that if you're down,
Yeah.
like, come back and talk even more and kind of like
100%.
see where this discussion with like K-pop leads us, because I feel like it's so exciting when like I don't feel like we've talked about this in the last episode, but like we don't really box ourselves into liking a particular genre. But
Yeah.
like when I think of you, Dani, I think hip hop or pop punk.
Yeah.
And like generally with me, I know a lot of people would feel like it was pop punk and pop, you know, so it's kind of like nice to like push ourselves and expand our minds more and get into this genre, because I feel like it's so exciting. It's like you said at the beginning of the podcast, it's like a whole nother world of music that we haven't really dipped our toes in. And it'd be really cool to come back and speak to someone who has been a fan of K-pop for as long as you have, Ibby, and like see like where our interests and listening to that playlist take us.
Like
I
where we
would
differentiate for sure.
I would be so hyped to do that. Like
Yeah, I'm
I
down.
can't wait to see what you guys think about it. Like I'm so excited.
And I also
know,
feel like we may even have more questions at that point, because
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
great minds think alike.
I think it's definitely a cool idea. I would totally be down to do that, and I am ready to get my research on
Heck
and
yeah.
my obsession on. I'm gonna be simping all over the place.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah, so thank you so much for like doing this today, Ibby.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for who's been around and had a listen, and we look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Bye.